Deep in a green and deserted forest, there existed a small community called Luma. The villages were remarkably short, and for them, being short was the epitome of beauty. All the women in the village were very short and considered it normal. Anything outside this physical condition was deemed absurd and strange. In a small hut, there lived a girl called Ina. She was exceptionally tall. She looked different from everyone else. She was so tall that her hair seemed to brush against her hut whenever she would try to enter or leave her hut. This difference reduced her confidence greatly, that she could barely come out of her hut, except it was necessary. She secluded herself from everyone in the village because the villagers mocked her, questioning her parentage and if she was truly a part of their community. Sometimes they would even doubt if she was the biological daughter of her parents or was just adopted from a nearby village. When Ina was little, she was loved by everyone. She was very cheerful and loved to dance. Dancing was her hobby. She danced so well that most people came to her to teach them how to dance. But things took a turn for Ina as she grew older. When Ina began growing up, her height became unusual. Everybody wondered and was surprised by her difference. Her parents were worried. They didn't know what went wrong, and they didn't have anyone in their whole lineage with this height. As a teenager, Ina was already taller than the most tallest person in the village. Everybody began to dissociate from her. Even parents who once took their children to Ina to teach them dancing now kept their children from her and stopped them from associating with her in any way. This made Ina feel uncomfortable. They even suspected if this was a kind of curse. Maybe her parent did something that resulted to her growing so much. Her parent visited many native doctors to seek help from them, but all yielded to nothing. None of the maidens in the village wanted to associate with her. Their cruel words took a toll on Ina's self-esteem. Whenever Ina would pass by a group of people, she would often hear murmurs, whispering and gossiping about her. She felt so embarrassed and outcasted. Ina felt less confident of herself by each day that passed. One day, when Ina set out to get firewood for her mother, she heard some group of market women on the road mocking her secretly. She was so hurt that she rushed home to her mother. When she got home, she went to her crying spot and cried a lot. Her mother heard her cry and went to her, trying to console her. "Why am I so different from everyone, Mother? Am I cursed or something?" Ina asked. Her mother stopped her. "Don't say that, my daughter. You're neither cursed nor unlucky. Do not listen to anything anyone tells you. You are my beloved daughter, and I and your dad love you so much." She hugged her daughter and caressed her cheek, even though Ina was way bigger than her. Ina had a different hut, made specially for her, as she couldn't fit into their little hut. Regardless, she still found it tight and not very comfortable. She didn't have any other choice and couldn't complain either. One fateful morning, Ina went to the stream to fetch water. She came across a group of maidens in the river. At first, the whole area got quiet for a minute. Then, one of the maidens burst with laughter, after which all the maidens joined in laughing and mocking Ina. One of them went directly to Ina and confronted her. "Why are you so tall, Ina? I can barely see your face from this level. Are you sure you don't belong to the class of the Iroko trees?" And all the maidens burst into another laughter. Some even dropped on the ground, laughing. She added, "Here's a word of advice from me, Ina. "Leave this village. You don't belong here, and you never would." Ina couldn't bear the taunt anymore. She immediately dropped her pot and ran into the forest as fast as she could, crying. She kept on running without a direction, not realizing when she left her village and entered the town. She got to the roadside but didn't realize until she was hit by a car. Moments later, Ina opened her eyes and found herself in the hospital, receiving treatment. She was confused by the new environment. The man whose car she ran into walked into the room and asked her if she was okay. And she affirmed. Shortly afterwards, she was discharged from the hospital. He was amazed by her height and saw great potentials in Ina's unique height and features. He offered to introduce her into a modeling firm, describing how her height was fit and exceptional and could make her rich and famous, earning her millions in the industry. Ina agreed to join the firm in order to stay away from her village. She got signed in as a model, and when she arrived, she was amazed by the ladies she saw. They were so tall and were given great importance. People struggled to get their autographs and took pictures of them. Ina walked up to one of the models and asked, "How are you given so much importance with such great height?" The model replied, "That's what modeling is all about. It's all about height and beauty." Ina attended classes, underwent training as a model, and bonded well with her colleagues, learning a lot from them. Whenever she walked on stage, the whole audience was stunned by her beauty, height, and figure. In no time, Ina mastered the art of modeling and impressed everyone around her. She made many friends with other models, and they cherished her shape and figure so much. Ina couldn't believe that she was given so much importance. When back in her village, she was taunted for her height. In no time, she became rich and famous within a very short time, receiving numerous awards and becoming a celebrity who owned houses and flashy cars. She was known by everyone in the city and had many admirers. Few years later, Ina decided to visit her community to meet her parents, whom she knew would be worried about her long absence. She wasn't sure of what to expect, if the people would see her differently for who she had become, or not. Although she wasn't afraid, her confidence and self-esteem had reached a higher level. She drove to her community in a luxurious car, accompanied by her manager. Everyone gathered around to see the new arrival in their village. Shortly afterwards, Ina stepped down from her car, looking stunning and confident and well established. Everyone was surprised by Ina's new look. Ina went straight to her parents, accompanied by her manager, ignoring the gaze of the crowd. Her parents, overcome with grief, called out her name in shock when they saw her. Ina rushed to embrace them. Her parents were filled with joy to see their daughter back. Ina couldn't stop the tears rolling down her eyes as she hugged her parents. She told them about her experience in the city, how she was hit by a car and hospitalized, and how the CEO who owned the car introduced her to a modeling career, where she met people of her height who accepted her and cherished her for who she was. She further told her mom that being tall was an asset in the city. She emphasized on how much life there was outside the four walls of the village. The villagers were surprised to see that there wasn't much difference in height between Ina and the stranger who came with her. It was then they realized that the problem wasn't Ina. They were too short and didn't realize it because their traits were all the same. The people who once mocked her were now in awe of her transformation. The maidens who once belittled and insulted her now wanted to become friends with her. Even though Ina felt bad about their past insults and taunts, she still forgave them. Ina left the village, taking her parents with her, and went back to the city. Her parents were surprised to see how big and fascinating the city was. Seeing the skyscrapers, Ina's mom asked her with amusement, "Ina, this is pure heaven. I think the angels must have built these tall houses." Ina smiled and explained to her mother that it was all modern technology and it wasn't difficult to set up those buildings with mechanical facilities. When they got home, Ina introduced her parents to their new house, pointing to a huge mansion and saying, "Mom, Dad, this is your new home. You have servants who will be at your service all day long." Ina's parents stood in shock, staring at the mansion Ina introduced them to. Ina's mom had to ask again if Ina truly meant that this big mansion was theirs. Ina laughed, realizing that her parents were still in disbelief. She walked them in, showing them every part. She showered her parents with luxury and gave them a comfortable life. Hi, I'm Ina, and my height once made me feel like an outcast. But I've learned that self-love is about self-acceptance. It's about embracing what makes you different and seeing it as a blessing. Your uniqueness is your strength, and loving yourself just the way you are is the key to unlocking your true potential. Has my story inspired you to love yourself even more? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring content.